Good morning. This is ICAC Unpacked. I'm Norman Michael Asian. So I want to review a couple of cases here that demonstrate that the registry doesn't work. Somebody sent me these. Tammy Goodson, the labeled offender, said the registry would not have prevented these cases. Some of them are pretty heinous. Actually, all of them are pretty heinous. And what's remarkable about it is each one is very, very different. And each one, the registry did nothing to prevent the cases. And each one in a very real way has people who will suffer far less for their actual crimes than people who were suffering under computer solicitation, unless, of course, you're a police officer. I'll try to point that out as well. So let's get into them. Hopefully, I can share these properly with you. Let's start with this particular one right here. It is about Caitlin Grimley, whom I have mentioned before, and it says former math teacher takes plea deal. I want to play this. It's about 2 minutes long, but I don't know that it will show up actually on the audio. I've had some challenges trying to figure out. I've done a pretty good job with editing, but this somehow getting it to play and so that you can hear it at the same time is a challenge. So I'm going to try to play it and see what we get.
Since in November. She's here now with some information on a plea deal with this case.
Caitlin Grimley and her plea deal. Now, in the event you can't hear it, I'll narrate a little bit. Caitlin Grimley, Fauquier County teacher, math teacher, eighth grade, had sex with a couple of her male students, aged 13 and 14, repeatedly in and around her classroom, supposedly in her car. I can't remember. It doesn't matter exactly. But she will have no jail time, no sex offender registry, no restitution whatsoever.
Misdemeanors. Only tonight the deal does not require her to serve jail time or to register as a sex offender.
And she doesn't have to register as a sex offender because they dropped the misdemeanors. And why did the four drop to misdemeanors? These four charges from class four felony, that's a 20-year obligation for each felony. Why did that happen? Because if it drops to a misdemeanor, she doesn't have to be on the sex offender registry. Supposedly, one of the posters in the initial article a couple of years ago wrote that she was well connected in the Warrenton, Virginia area. Her family is well known, and that might have had something to do with it. What's interesting, it goes on to explain how she actually has done all these great things as a teacher, volunteers, etc. Well, a lot of conscientious teachers, including myself, did exactly the same thing. And we didn't get any particular deal through restorative justice, which should be available for all people. Certainly, it should be available for people who have a first time offense like Ms. Grimley, but who never touched anybody, like so many people in the computer solicitation scam that ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, runs. More on the article here.
37 in November, losing a child back in 2018. While she was employed at Fauquier County Public Schools, she was 32 at the time. Her court documents may learn the child was either 13 or 14 years old. This week, she took a plea deal that downgraded her four felony charges to four misdemeanor charges. She pleaded guilty to 4 counts of consensual sex with a child 15 years old or older, according to her attorney. Her attorney told me that doesn't.
Now, this is interesting. It says that I'd never seen this before. She had consensual sex with these children, and she pleaded guilty to charges of children having sex with children who age 15 or over. I wonder how she managed that, since the article and the court documents clearly indicate here that she had sex with somebody under the age of 15.
That she resigned in November. We've also learned she volunteered for her local church and spent time with a group that helps with education and medical.
So she was sentenced to home confinement, and she volunteers in her church. Isn't that nice? And she also volunteers with this organization, Friends of Fort Liberté in Haiti, where she worked with them. Isn't that wonderful? So many teachers do the same thing, but apparently that was the reason for leniency, the article, this newscast here implies. Probation for 4 years, one for each of her four felony counts, which now are misdemeanor counts. But as the article goes on to explain here in this newscast, heard that. That's what's nice. Once her probation is complete, she'll retain her teaching license and she'll be able to teach again. Isn't that great? I mean, it's nice to know that there are some kinds of deals for certain people and not for other particular people out there. So, again, this is one case where somebody actually had sex with somebody who is underage and no jail time, no restitution. No, I mean, it's incredible. And yet there's a man who is spending 35 years in prison in the western part of the state, who is a former physics professor. His name is Stephen Kilpatrick, and he never had sex with anybody who was a student at all. 35 years, because he had several conversations with a woman who claimed initially she was an adult, switched it to a child, said between 24 and 14, I think it was, claimed it was a typo, and he has to suffer for the rest of his days, and he's already in his 60s. That's abhorrent. That's ridiculous. But that's what we have out there today. We have that kind of thing. So Grimley gets away with it, others do not. Here's a particularly heinous case here. Father allegedly sexually assaulted daughter for 12 years, resulting in the birth of three kids. This fine, upstanding human being who encapsulates smugness in this look, in this jailhouse photo here. Um, West Virginia dad, not on the registry, by the way, like Caitlin Grimley, had sex over 12 years. Okay. He faces 152 charges, including 149 of incest for sexually abusing his daughter over a decade, leading to the birth of three children, beginning when she was 9 years old. It's heart wrenching. Continued till she's 21. It it began just horrifically. You can imagine. I don't know where Beckley, West Virginia is, but it sounds extremely rural. Nobody was checking on this child, but somehow this particular predator, one child who was a year old at the time that they discovered this, was discovered in a neglectful condition. He's being held on $500,000 bond. And what's really fascinating here is he had sexual abuse, sexual assault, child neglect, and three counts of incest. This is somebody who should never, ever be a father or a parent or in any way involved with children. Look at this look of arrogance in this person's face. I usually don't do that sort of thing because a lot of people are accused of this, including me, being arrogant about this. But come on, really? This is a case where somebody should have been on the registry, perhaps, but was not. Why? He hadn't committed the crime yet. Actually, he'd been committing it for 12 years, right? So the registry did nothing to help this person and will do nothing to help the three kids that are really his grandkids through incest and his own daughter. And the counseling and the need for you know really proactive care was never there at all, and hopefully will be there in the future. Okay. It's just heart wrenching, this particular case. So the last one I want to cover here is the Bowling Green State University crimes of online solicitation. If you go to this now defunct site here, Bowling Green State University, this is the Henry Wallace um, database, and it is defunct, meaning it's no longer being added to. And you can see all the things for which police officers, people who have badges, who often use that badge to abuse children, all the things that the police officers can get away with. Going on to sex offenses and all the sex offenses that police officers do, including incest and decent exposure. You can go all the way here to online solicitation of a child. Okay. And when you hit online solicitation of a child, you get uh, the list that I just showed you by state. You can look at by date, by case number, and you can look at these. And a lot of these people, police officers here, got away with it. Here's one in Arlington County. When I say get away with it, they were allowed to resign. They were allowed to plead to a lower charge, a misdemeanor. They were allowed to spend a little bit of time in jail, and that was about it. Here's a young man who was just started as an officer, and it's funny how they don't have biographical information, whereas for the rest of us, they troop out everything they possibly can in a press release out there to everybody. And this is Arlington County, which is right outside of Washington, D.C. He was arrested in December of 2025. He was off duty at the time. He was suspended for a period of time. His employment was terminated. Criminal case disposition unknown. Okay. Well, you would think that they'd be blasting it all over the airwaves, but apparently not. The victim was a 13-year-old female. She knows she was not a sex worker. No, obviously not a police officer. Victim is unrelated to child. Okay. And so you see over and over again these particular cases like this, where you have police officers behaving badly. And you can just go on that. It's Bowling Green State University, the Henry Wallace, Wallace database. And if you want a more current one, you can look at Abused by the Badge, the Washington Post um, series that we've highlighted here on this channel, where we can demonstrate clearly what police have been up to and how they very often have gotten away with it. 1,800 cases over 17 years, 1,800 cases over 17 years that police officers use their badge to get into the pants of early teen age children, particularly girls. Many of them got away with it. And so when we hear that we've got to go after people who did online solicitation, supposedly, and we hear from people like me and from others that police officers set up these things to gin up their own statistics, and they go into places where people are very vulnerable, where they're talking smack, where there's role play, and a lot of sexual terminology thrown back and forth. They play right into that scenario because it's very easy to weave a crime around somebody because people are behaving in all sorts of sexual ways. And don't forget how police start. They don't go out there and say, "Hi, I'm 15, okay, or 13." No, no, no. They start as an adult. They engage you in many, many messages where you're talking about a variety of things. They play right into this confused um, environment, and then they abruptly switch it to a child. And if you don't immediately disengage, okay, because you don't know their game, you get arrested or you're subject to arrest. And if you think I'm exaggerating, they've gone after people over a 2 or 3 or 4 year period after they disengaged. Many people do disengage. You even have somebody who says a number of things. Men love to solve problems. So they say, well, I'm going to go over there and see if you're really that age because I don't believe it, you know. And in an age where we have, sitcoms where somebody ribs his buddy when there's a girl who's rather well developed coming out of the pool and he says, "Hey, look at that hottie." And the guy hits him in the ribs and says, "Hey, that's my daughter, that's my niece." And everybody laughs, all right? It's that kind of thing. You can't always tell up front. And you don't know whether you're dealing with an authentic underage person or not. And when you look at the stats, most of them are not underage at all. Okay. And you well should ask why police are on there creating these scenarios where they begin as an adult, approach you, are the first one to bring up sex, okay, and do everything they can to continue that conversation so that they can make an arrest when you had shown no predisposition, no interest from the get-go. Instead, those people get 10, 20, 30 years, average 5 to 8 years in prison. Caitlin Grimley gets nothing. Ms. Hoppy gets 11 years. And by the way, she had argued, this is the woman in Charlottesville area that I forgot to mention earlier, that she was taking medication and this lowered her inhibitions and created hypersexuality involved there. But that didn't do anything to lower her sentence. She still got 11 years. However, um, people like Grimley got nothing. I mean, it's very uneven. It's extremely uneven. And we need to do something about that. I believe in diversion programs. Why don't we have more diversion programs? Why are we stuffing people who could be useful members of society in prison? I've talked about people out there who are 12 years in prison because they were a teacher or a coach and they had consensual sex with somebody who was 16 or 17, just shy of their 18th birthday. They get 12 years, 12 years, and 25 years as a sex offender. Other times, police in the Romeo and Juliet cases wait till a boy, often a boy goes from 17 to 18, and he has a 15-year-old girlfriend when he was 17. Now she's 16, he's 18, and they charge him with child pornography. Really? Is this really serving public safety? Really? Well, think about that. Think about whether the registry would have done a damn thing to solve any of these cases. And you see, it's the big bloated pig I have claimed. This is Norman Michael Asian with ICAC Unpacked. Have a good day.